Rome. It took 1,000 years, 1,000,000 hands, and an empire's patience to build this city. Every wall, every road, every arch rose slowly, one generation adding to what the last had left behind, stone by stone, until legend and stone became almost impossible to separate. No single ruler decreed Rome into existence. It simply accumulated, the way a river carves a canyon, so gradually that no one alive ever saw the whole of it happen. But 600 miles to the east, one emperor was about to defy that patience completely. In a single day, he would declare a brand new capital of the world complete, before the paint had even dried, before the last stone had even settled into place. Legend says Rome began with two orphan brothers, Romulus and Remus, raised by a wolf on the banks of the Tiber. From that muddy hillside village, Rome grew, not by decree, but by centuries of stubborn accumulation. Each generation added a wall, a temple, a road, never finishing, only building on what came before, layer upon layer, like sediment turning slowly into stone. It took nearly 500 years just to build the roads that would one day connect an empire, laid stone by soldiers and laborers who would never live to see where those roads eventually led. Its aqueducts alone took generations of engineers to perfect, carrying water for miles across towering arches of stone, each arch a small monument to patience. By the time the Colosseum rose, Rome had already spent 8 centuries becoming an empire, and even that great arena took the better part of a decade of forced and skilled labor to complete. This was the truth behind the old saying: greatness, real greatness, could only be earned slowly, through generations of failure, correction, and quiet accumulation. Rome wasn't built in a day, and for centuries, no one thought a great capital ever could be built any other way. That belief held for 1,000 years, until an emperor decided time itself could be rewritten. By the 4th century, Rome itself was no longer the empire's true center of power. Its senate had grown ceremonial, its old gods increasingly out of step with a changing world. Civil wars, invasions, and division had fractured the empire into rival halves, east and west, each ruled by its own claimant, each fighting for a throne that no longer had one single home. Out of that chaos, one general would rise to reunite the empire under a single crown and reimagine entirely where its heart should beat. His name was Constantine. In 324 AD, at the Battle of Chrysopolis, he crushed his last rival, Licinius, to become sole ruler of the Roman world. But Constantine didn't just want to rule the empire. He wanted to remake it in his own image. Rome, with its old senate and its older gods, no longer fit the empire he imagined, a Christian empire, unified under one faith and one emperor. He needed a city built for that new empire from the ground up, Christian, imperial, and entirely his own, untouched by centuries of pagan tradition. He considered ancient Troy, said to be the mythic ancestral home of the Romans themselves. He considered other cities along the frontier, but his eyes kept returning to one narrow strait. Byzantium, a modest Greek trading town founded centuries earlier by colonists from Megara, sat exactly where 2 continents nearly touched. Here, trade routes from Asia, Europe, and the Black Sea all converged in one narrow channel barely a mile wide. Whoever controlled this strait could command trade and armies moving between 2 worlds. In 324 AD, Constantine made his decision. This forgotten fishing town would become the new capital of the world, and he intended to prove it faster than anyone thought possible. The order went out across the empire: build faster than any city had ever been built before. Tens of thousands of laborers, engineers, architects, and soldiers converged on the little town of Byzantium from every province Rome controlled. New walls rose around the old town, far larger than Byzantium had ever needed, enclosing space enough for an imperial capital many times its former size. To fill his new capital with instant grandeur, Constantine stripped treasures from across the empire, rather than wait for new ones to be carved. Statues of gods and heroes from Athens, Ephesus, and Antioch were carried off by ship and cart to decorate the new Rome. Entire columns were dismantled stone by stone, numbered and reassembled hundreds of miles away, so that centuries of accumulated art could be transplanted in months instead of generations. Constantine promised free bread and land to anyone willing to move to his new city, borrowing the same imperial generosity that had once built loyalty in Rome itself. Families packed their lives onto carts and ships, drawn east by the promise of a city that did not yet fully exist. At the heart of the city, workers expanded a modest old arena into the great Hippodrome, a stadium meant to rival anything in Rome. Beside it rose the Great Palace, a sprawling complex of colonnades and domed halls, fit for an emperor who now called himself equal to Rome's founders. Nearby, the Forum of Constantine took shape around a towering column of deep purple porphyry stone, crowned with a bronze statue of the emperor himself, styled in the image of the sun. Christian churches rose alongside old pagan shrines, a city deliberately built to honor both the old gods and a new faith still finding its footing. The new walls stretched over 2 miles, enclosing 7 hills, just like Rome, a detail chosen with obvious intent. Every feature was designed to say, unmistakably, this is not a colony, and this is not an imitation. This is Rome, reborn on new ground. But time was against them. Constantine had set a date for the city's dedication, and nothing, not weather, not shortages, not exhaustion, was allowed to stop it. Laborers worked through the night by torchlight, plastering walls that would barely have time to dry before the ceremony. Even as the final touches were rushed into place, word spread across the empire. Something extraordinary, something unprecedented, was about to happen on the shores of the Bosphorus. Sculptors worked feverishly on a colossal bronze statue meant to embody the city's guardian spirit, Fortune herself, cast to watch over Constantinople the way older gods once watched over Rome. Mosaic artists laid tiny fragments of colored glass, tile by tile, into ceilings that would glow for centuries after every worker who placed them was gone. Engineers raced to finish vast cisterns beneath the city, underground reservoirs built to keep the population alive through drought and siege alike. Above ground, the new Senate House neared completion, a deliberate architectural echo of the one still standing, half empty, back in Rome. Bakeries and granaries were stocked to feed a population that hadn't fully arrived yet, built on faith that the people would come. The Hippodrome's final tiers were completed just weeks before the emperor's deadline, workers balancing on scaffolding until the very last stone was set. Even the emperor's own palace still smelled of wet paint and fresh-cut marble dust on the eve of its grand unveiling. Across the empire, governors and generals began the long journey east to witness the impossible, a capital born, essentially, overnight. The night before the ceremony, the city fell strangely quiet, exhausted from years of frantic labor, but at last nearly whole. Constantine himself walked the empty streets alone in the dark, watching moonlight fall on marble that had not yet been touched by daylight. Tomorrow, this half-finished dream would be declared whole, a city consecrated before it was, in the strictest sense, truly done. At dawn, trumpets would sound, and Rome would finally have a rival, born in a single, carefully staged ceremony. On May the 11th, in the year 330 AD, trumpets rang out across the new city, and its gates were thrown open to the waiting crowds. People packed the Hippodrome for a full day of chariot races, the loudest and largest celebration the young city had ever witnessed. At the center of it all, a gilded statue of Constantine was paraded through the streets on a golden chariot, holding in its hand a small figure of the city's guardian spirit, Tyche, cast in bronze and gold leaf. Bishops offered Christian blessings over the crowd, while older, more traditional rites quietly echoed the ceremonies once used to found Rome itself 1,000 years earlier. Constantine formally declared the city New Rome, though history and the people themselves would simply come to call it Constantinople, the city of Constantine. Free bread was distributed to the assembled crowds, an old Roman promise renewed on new ground, that this city too would care for its people. As night fell, the entire city was lit by an estimated 10,000 lamps, an all-night celebration unlike anything the empire had staged before. The city that had not truly existed 6 years earlier now stood formally, ceremonially, declared complete. Constantinople would stand, largely unbroken, for over 1,000 years. It became the beating heart of what we now call the Byzantine Empire, guarding the last living flame of Roman law, language, and governance for a millennium after the West had fallen into fragments. Its walls, its palaces, and its churches would go on to outlast empires, outlast plagues, outlast siege after siege, nearly outlasting time itself. The city born in a single ceremonial day would not finally fall until 1453, outliving the empire that first built it by more than 1,000 years. In the end, the emperor who broke every rule of patient, generational building created something that outlasted almost everything patience ever built. Rome remains the proof that greatness can be built slowly, stone by stone, across centuries of quiet accumulation. But Constantinople remains the proof of something else entirely, that sometimes greatness simply refuses to wait for time to catch up with ambition.